Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to our Behind Her Brand Monday Morning Brew. So today I don't have a cup of coffee or tea, but I'm drinking a lot of these lately. Getting back into my water intake and refocusing on making sure I'm hitting my 8 glasses a day. But I wanted to talk to you guys about something today that is going to be more like a challenge. And as always, I would love to hear your input below. But before I jump into this, I just want to say, and you can put names below, if there are people specifically that you know that have been affected by the LA fires, please put the name below. We would love to pray for them, cover them. And during this season of time, I have been so saddened. I have a couple of really dear friends who are even in our community that completely lost their homes 100%. I have a couple people that I know that their whole families, all of their homes, their grandmothers, aunts, cousins, sisters. I mean, the whole families. They lived in the same area apparently. All their homes were completely wiped out. And so, still just want to continue to uplift them. Oftentimes, I know when tragedy happens, we can be so focused on praying and lifting them in that moment. But days after, weeks after, so many people are still rebuilding their lives that I want to just continue to keep them in prayers. Okay. So for today, I wanted to issue out a challenge, but I'm going to start with this verse first to frame what I wanted to share. So in Matthew 25, 25th chapter, 23rd verse, there's a parable, so you can read through the whole parable. But for this particular part of the scripture, it says, His Lord said to them, Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a few things, and I will make you ruler over many things. And enter into the joy of your Lord. And what I wanted to just park for a quick second is talk about or challenge you to review what you are stewarding today and how are you stewarding the things that have been placed into your life. When you think about your days and think about, like I just mentioned about the fires and all this, oftentimes people say you never know how much time we have. You never know when the Lord's going to call you home. You never know this, you never know that. And we say things sometimes so often that I always wonder, how often do we really take what we are saying and really implement it into our day-to-day life? So right now, if you were to ask yourself, how am I really stewarding the time that I am in today? What am I doing with my day today? When I look at my schedule and I look at the things that I'm going to be doing, am I stewarding my time well? When I look at my relationships, that with your spouse, your kids, your friends, your colleagues, your workmates, whatever it might be, when you look at your relationships, are you stewarding those connections well? Are you being a good friend? Are you following up? Are you actively supporting? Sorry, I got my hair in my face. Um, how are you stewarding the relationships in your life? How are you stewarding your gifts and your talents that the Lord has given you? Are you actively pursuing the things that He has placed on your heart to do? Are you actively building and growing and nurturing the things that He has you to do? Or are you sitting on them and not really implementing them? If He's told you, hey, it's time to speak, it's time to write, it's time to do this, it's time to do that, are you actively stewarding that command well? I put on here too, how are you stewarding your abundance and your overflow? The things that God has blessed you so well, where every need and want is met and you're in overflow. How are you really managing that? And then the other thing I put on here too is, how are you really how are you really and truly stewarding your relationship with the Lord? And I don't mean to make that last. It's not meant to be last. But it was something that came to mind was, how are you stewarding your relationship with Him? When you think about stewardship and think about, like, as the verse said here, and I'll bring it back up again one more time real quick. Um, when it says, well done, good and faithful servant, you've been faithful over a few things. Oftentimes He'll trust us with a few before He trusts us with much. So if you're saying, well, I really and truly want deeper relationships, closer friendships, I really want to grow my influence, my impact, ask yourself, how are you doing with the current relationships that you have? How are you doing with the current impact that you have right now? How are you doing with your time right now? Are you stewarding the things He's given to you well right now? Look at that and ask yourself, I want more, but am I really ready for more? Because oftentimes we may want God to expand our territories. We want him to deepen connections. We want all these different financial resources. And he's going to be asking, and it's probably another one I should say, how are we stewarding our finances? He'll ask you, have you been faithful of what I've already placed in your hand before wanting more? And so this is why I wanted to challenge you all, because when we're entering into a new year, it's always that feeling of freshness. It's always that feeling of let's start over, let's new chapter, and let's do all these different things. I talked to you all last week about the environment, but now it's like, okay, if I want more, how do I deal with the abundance that I have now? If I want more, how am I really nurturing what he's given me today? If I want a stronger relationship with my spouse, how am I stewarding that connection? If I want a deeper connection with my kids, am I spending more time? Y'all can kind of see where I'm going with this. And so it's a challenge question that I would love for you guys to ask yourself this every single day. It's a great way to, in my opinion, self-check yourself and say, you know what? I'm saying I want all these different things, but am I stewarding the things that I already have very well? And I'll give you guys a good example of this. People ask me all the time, why do I care so much about supporting other women? And why do I care so much about supporting other people, period? It's not just women, I support men too. And I said, one of the things I love is seeing the things that God has seeded and birthed in someone's life come to pass. I love walking alongside them. I love helping them. I love helping them to be able to take what they thought was one thing and seeing what all that God had intended for it to be. So I remember many, many years ago when God put on my heart that was a call on my life to do. That was one of my calls. I wanted to make sure I always stewarded that well. I wanted to make sure that I showed up for people. I wanted to make sure that I actively helped them. I wanted to make sure that the gifts that he's given me to do will bless them in whatever capacity he's intending for it to be blessed. And I'm going to tell you something, and I can tell you from experience, doing that is something that brings me joy and makes me happy, and fills my cup up. But it doesn't mean that it's always easy to do. It doesn't mean that it hasn't come with its own ups and downs attached to it. But the reason why that I always look at that is because I believe that when he's given me this gift, I want to take a good care of it. I don't want to wait to the end of my life for him to say, well done. I want to reach the end of my day and for him to say, well done. When I go to bed at night, I want to look at my day and I want God to say, you did a good job today, Kim. You did this, 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 and this, and this. And if there's any areas that I miss, I know that I can take care of it should he allow me to wake up the next day. But I always think to myself, am I being a good steward today? Because if I'm a good steward of things he's given me today, then I know that I'm going to be a good steward of things he gives me tomorrow. And for me, it's also a form of trust. If God can trust you with a little and see what you do with a little, and he can see that you're good with your time, your relationships, your finances, your time with him, and all these different things. And he sees that you take a good care of it. It's like telling him, you can trust me with the things you have for me. And you and I both know the best relationships in the world are the ones where there's an intimate level of trust. And when God can trust you, when he knows that I can give you this and she's going to make this little bit into much, he'll give you more. He'll give you more. Not to oversaturate you, but because he can trust you. And there's something beautiful about walking in the trust of the Lord over the things that he's given you to steward. So I hope today that this would be a good challenge, something that you can consider taking into your day today and into your tomorrow and into the next day, and asking yourself, am I being a good steward of the things that I have been blessed with? All right. I hope that this question challenges you. I hope that if there is any area that you're like, ooh, I gotta shore up this area, that you'll focus on that. I'm the same way. I always check myself, and there's areas sometimes that I got to do a little bit better in. And it's a good way, like I said, just to continue to build your life in a way that you can be trusted with more. Okay. I hope you guys have an amazing, amazing day today. And not just today, a really blessed week as well. And I look forward to hearing some of your feedback on today about stewardship and how you're stewarding the things that God has given you. All right. Take care, everyone. Have a great day.